biohacking, performance, mastery, mindset, holistic health. This is a show about getting better every single day. I'm on a mission, guys, to help over 1 million people get healthy and lose weight. Why? Because when you lose weight and get healthy, you have higher self-esteem. You have more self-confidence. And that person goes out and crushes their goals and starts living the highest version of themselves, and then they have way more impact on the world. What's up, guys? Happy Wednesday. Here we go. We're into another Weight Loss Wednesday show, a time for me to connect live with the audience if you're available. And really, it's a chance for us to connect it. If you have questions or you want to ask me something, every week I pick a new topic about metabolic health usually. Sometimes, like last week, I did one on vitamin D and just how it relates overall to health, but also with obesity. And so this week, I want to talk about something that's really important because I hear about this a lot with a lot of my clients and folks that I get on phone calls with on a weekly basis. And we are talking about this idea of, they tell me that they're depressed, they have anxiety, they have all these issues. And they also have weight loss issues that they want to tackle. And so it often comes up is that I have depression. And I'm like, well, good, because when you lose weight, you're gonna actually get healthy and better, and your depression's gonna go away. And I think they kind of look at me like, come on, like that's not true. But we're gonna get into the studies. It's not just me saying this because I believe it and I see it. It's the truth. And the studies actually show that and prove that. And it makes sense, right? If we're eating healthier and we're eating better, there's no doubt that you're going to have a better body, a different gut microbiome, a different outlook in life, a different type of self-confidence, a different type of self-esteem. And that person, I always say this, is going to go out and crush their goals, kill the world, go out and be the best version of themselves. And that, of course, that just makes sense. That just makes sense that that's going to also tie in with your mood. And we'll actually get into some of the nutrients that you might be missing that could be affecting your mood. So before we get into today, guys, I just want to let everybody know I just created a new cheat sheet. It's a template. It's a blueprint. And if anybody is interested in getting access to this blueprint, this is a blueprint that I give. People always talk to me about how do I structure meal plans? You know, what does that look like? Well, I've created essentially like a weight loss diet template. I guarantee you're going to lose 10 pounds easily just doing this just sticking to this template. So if you're interested, this is something that I give my private wellness clients. But I want to share this with the rest of the world. So if you guys are interested and you want that, go ahead and just shoot me a DM or shoot me something on Messenger and just saying, hey, Joel, I want that. You could always reach out to me and email me info@joel11coaching.com. But the easiest way, the fastest way, I can just send it to you right through Messenger or on Instagram. So at Joel11coaching or Joel11 on Facebook. So yeah, reach out to me there. I want to send that to you guys. I want to get that in your hands because I think that's just a really nice way to get you moving in the right direction. And we all need a little help, and not everybody has, with inflation and gas, nobody can afford all these programs and all these things. So I want to be of service and I want to help you guys out. All right, let's jump into some of the things that we're seeing with depression and obesity. Now, depression, it's the second most common mental illness after anxiety. It affects almost 8.4% of adults in the US, according to a 2020 survey. Now, here's what they wanted to look at is, could dietary intervention, could that actually matter with a good population? Would that actually have an effect on their mood and how they feel? Again, how many times, and I can just think back when my brother went to the hospital many, many years ago, and he went to the hospital and he was ill. Guys, he was hurting. His white blood cell count was high. His reverse T3 was really high. We got a separate blood test done from a Wellness FX because the regular Western MD wasn't doing their job and wasn't running enough tests to actually show us what was going on with him. And he really, at the end of the day, had some type of chronic fatigue. I don't even want to call it a disease because it's not a disease. He just was not doing well. He had a chronic fatigue and it probably lasted almost a year. I mean, it really hit him. And I remember he was down and out, and I mean, he didn't have enough energy to get out of bed. Sometimes he didn't have enough energy. I would try to go, let's go do a workout. Let's go do a WOD. Let's go do something. And just to get his, build some endorphins, get some energy going. He was just out of it. And I thought it was all mental. I'm like, dude, what is wrong with you? Like, cause he was going through some emotional stuff at the time too. And I thought it was all mental. I thought it was all emotional. And later, when we got the labs back, we were able to see this is not, I mean, sure, health, I think, has the emotional component, but it wasn't just emotional. He was suffering. I mean, his white blood cell count was high. Reverse T3 showed that he had an infection. He had some issues. And so I remember he went to the Western MD, and the Western MD said, ask them, they get 10 minutes to spend with you, right? And for insurance reasons. So they just, boom, they just get in there and then they get out. And so the doctor asked him a whole bunch of questions, like 10 questions. And my brother's like this, that. And he goes, well, I think you're depressed. Here's, take some depression medication. And my brother, I remember he got on the phone and called me. He's like, Joel, I'm not depressed. Like, I don't feel depressed. I don't want to take this medication, but like, I don't know what to do. And I remember at the time, this was many, many years ago, and I wasn't as well versed as I am now in health. And I didn't have all the answers then to help him. But the one thing we did do was we dialed in his diet. And that was something that I had been exploring and I was doing really well. That I had managed, and I understood nutrition better than the Western MD did at that time. And so we were doing things like MCT oil. We were getting him the nutrients. And eventually that's what brought his body back. So it's just really interesting. I think a lot of Western MDs are doing this. They're making these snap judgments. They're just diagnosing people. They're just giving them a quick treatment. Hey, you're depressed, and that's it. And nothing could be further from the truth. Unfortunately, the clients that I see and the people that reach out to me, they say, Joel, I have depression, or I've been diagnosed with depression. And I just don't believe it. I just think you were, emotions and thoughts. It's just a time period in your life. It's a transitional period. Thoughts are transitory. You can in one moment be sad and miserable. The next moment you can be happy. That's possible. So why is but when a doctor tells you you are depressed, you have depression, they embody that. They take that on. And I see that the worst, unfortunately, with my autoimmune clients. They say they have MS. They say they have Lyme disease, and they become that disease. And that's the worst thing you can ever do. And I hate to say that. I have so much compassion and empathy and sympathy for you. And I don't want you to think that I'm heartless and that I don't empathize with you and that it's not real. It is real, but it's just an imbalance in your body. Let's figure out what the imbalance is. And when we figure that out, the body will heal. The body's amazing. And we just got to figure that out. So let's get into this. Let's get into some of the studies that they showed and with depression and obesity specifically. And so what they wanted to test, there's been multiple studies. They all do it a little bit differently. So, I mean, it's hard for me to pick one study, but there's a couple that stand out, and there's various where they did like 40,000 people. There's other smaller cohorts that were random control trials, and they did like 48 people and stuff. And the bottom line, though, is they wanted to test people that had moderate depression. I'm reading some of the comments coming through from Dylan here. Only people who have credible depression are those with hormonal imbalances. I think that's in general. I mean, I think that's something you definitely could say. So yeah, great comment. So what they looked at, and let's just look at one of the studies, 18 to 65, they took 152 people that were diagnosed or self-reported depression, and it had to be at least moderate. Okay. Now they did two things. They took a group and they changed their diet. They gave them fish oil as well as dietary advice. And so they were supposed to follow a Mediterranean-based diet: vegetables, fruit, legumes, nuts, seed, olives, whole grains, extra virgin olive oil. And they had to have a moderate fish intake, low intake of candy, red meat, and processed food. That was it. The control group, they had to attend just social events. So, I guess that's supposed to like perk them up, right? That's supposed to help them out. And we know, like, being about part of a tribe, being connected, which of course we know the pandemic completely destroyed that, which is why depression went through the roof. But so that was a good control group. Let's see if we just give them a social group and somewhere they can talk, but they weren't given any dietary advice, and they wanted to with depression. Okay. Looks like my mic just went undone. So hopefully it comes back up. So if you didn't hear me because my mic went up, let me just repeat that. They took the control group. After 3 months, they checked the group that did a Mediterranean diet intervention. That group improved 43%. The control group that only received just the social interactions, but no dietary advice, they improved by 26%. So we saw some benefits. Now, why did we see that? Well, one of the big theories, and I think it's a pretty good one, is the Mediterranean diet the experts aren't clear, but the Mediterranean diet helps improve your microbiome. Go figure, right? Gut-brain axis, right? We've all heard about that. We know about that. So essentially, a Mediterranean-style diet could actually benefit because your gut microbiome is going to improve. There is a gut-brain connection. Think about any time you feel anxious, right? You have anxiety. Where do you feel queasy, right? There's a connection. Your gut, you're gonna go on stage, you're gonna speak. You're like, oh man, your gut starts to get really queasy. You start like, oh man, yeah, it's communicating with your brain, your thoughts, your things, and your gut's telling you like, I'm nervous. That's your gut bacteria. That's what's going on. That gut brain axis, right? So they also found that a Mediterranean diet has and this was all in the randomized controlled trials. They found that it had an increase in the production of short chain fatty acids. If you guys don't remember this, I did a live 3-4 weeks ago talking about the keto diet. And one of the real keys, everyone goes on this keto diet and they try to, eat like 80% fat. And for most people, that's just impossible long-term anyways, long-term. But one of the keys, you can get into ketosis by getting more of these short chain fatty acids. And one of the most popular ones you can get is butyrate. Where can you get butyrate? From butter, butyrate. That's a great one. And it's been shown to have antidepressant effects in animals because it actually helps increase serotonin in the gut. Now, there's an expert I know who's doing a lot of work with butyrate, and that's one of the big things he sees in a lot of his clients is a low amount of butyrate, and he actually tries to get him up. I'm going to get him on the podcast soon. He's an amazing guy. Knows a lot about methylene blue and hyperbaric chambers. I'm definitely going to get him on, and we'll talk more about that. So get these short chain fatty acids. You can get them from things like apple cider vinegar, butyrate, like I just mentioned, butter. There's a lot of good things out there. Go back to that one episode I did just a couple weeks ago on the keto diet and how to unlock the keto code. I gave you 8 strategies, and you don't have to be doing some ridiculous keto diet per se. And if it's not ridiculous, if you're getting results, I'm all about results, right? The other thing is the Mediterranean diet. Based on your food choices, it's going to decrease the levels of lipopolysaccharides. Lipopolysaccharides are endotoxins that Dr. Gundry from his book, if you know, he does a lot of gut health stuff. He talks lipopolysaccharides, little pieces of you know what, but they can get into the bloodstream and they can cause autoimmune symptoms, and you can feel like crap, honestly. And so that's going to play a role in depression. And so when that toxin load becomes lower, of course, what's going to happen? You feel better. Brain cells called the microglia become less inflammatory. And guess what? You start doing really, really well. You start feeling better, less depressed. Okay. Last couple of things I want to talk about. Sorry, I'm pointing at you if you're watching me live. I'm doing a lot of pointing. I'm sorry. I'm just so excited. Last couple of things I want to talk about. Some of the essential minerals you should probably get if you are depressed. I don't want to say you're depressed, but if you are feeling like maybe you are depressed, maybe you're not getting enough minerals, guys. And we'll talk about omega-3s at the very end too. But zinc and magnesium could be 2 very powerful minerals that you might need to get and you might be low on. And studies have shown that people with depression tend to have lower levels of magnesium than those without depression. Some of the antidepressants that they will prescribe actually increase magnesium levels in the blood. So go figure. And there's a lot of animal evidence that will suggest a lack of magnesium in the diet is associated with things like anxiety, depression, but they obviously need more research. So one of the biggest supplements, I think we see 80% of, I believe it's Americans, or I think it's Americans, 80% of them are deficient in magnesium. And guess what? We are in an epidemic of stress and overwhelm. And magnesium helps calm the nervous system. It's responsible for 300 enzymatic expressions. So I'd say that's probably a powerful supplement that probably everybody needs to be on. I think there's not a single client or person I don't know that's not under a little bit of stress right now. And so using that at bedtime to help calm that parasympathetic nervous system, really going to be good. And just get it from your food as well, right? Bananas. There's a banana tea recipe out there that you can make, really good for sleep, really good for magnesium. Dark leafy green vegetables, nuts, seeds, avocados, dark chocolate. I know some of you like that. All good sources. Now, zinc doesn't have that antidepressant effect by itself, but what it does is it actually increases the effectiveness of the antidepressant effects that you get from other foods and supplements. So think meats, eggs, legumes. Oysters are high in zinc, right? And I'm not a doctor, so I can't recommend, treat, or diagnose or cure any disease. Only the Western MD apparently can do that. I can't do that, nor will I try. But The recommended dosage for zinc would be about 25 to 30 milligrams a day. That's just some from some of the studies that I'm reading. So I can't say you should do that. I'm just telling you that's what I've read. Zinc supplementation obviously does improve. They're saying that it does improve mood when it's supplemented with people that are clinically depressed. And then the last thing, guys, is EPA and DHA, which you're going to get that from fish oil or fish. So think these are the fatty acids, right, that form around the membranes of our cells. These fatty acids, they're associated with tons of good. We see that for heart health, brain health, and fish oil, things like salmon, sardines, what else? Tuna, mussels, trout, all these things has been shown to be very effective at reducing the symptoms of depression, and specifically people with major depression. So think about it. If you're eating a Mediterranean diet, guess what? Your diet's changing. You're probably getting a lot more omega-3. So it's no surprise that you start to do much better. You feel less depressed. But you could always take a supplement. And for most people, we see even when they run an omega-3 acids test, they usually are very low. And even myself, I know I was doing sardines like 3 to 4 times a week, 3 times I'd say at least on average. And even I was in the higher percentile, but I wasn't at the top. And I thought I would be. I was really surprised that I wasn't, because I thought that was a pretty good amount of fish that I was getting. Another thing you could do for vegans or other folks that are out there, I did a great podcast with Catherine Arnston. She's the founder of Energy Bits. She sells spirulina and chlorella tabs. I've done 2 deep dives on chlorella and spirulina. Check out my podcast, the Hacked Life podcast. And if you're watching live, so maybe, and that's why I'm saying that. Obviously, some people are going to be listening to this. This is going to be an episode that you're listening to. But if you're not and you're watching me live, check out the Hack Life podcast. I did a 2 interviews with Catherine Arnston from Energy Bits. Deep dive on algae and chlorella and spirulina, why it's so beneficial for the health, the brain, and all that good stuff. So check that out. And by the way, she gave me a code to give my audience. You get 20% off. The code is Joel. I believe it's Joel, Joel, and that'll give you 20% off all her stuff. Now, she makes a premium brand. People always tell me, Joel, this is expensive. Yes, it is. The quality is worth it. The other thing I would just say is that a maintenance dose for her is about 10 tabs a day. 10 tabs a day will last you 3 months. So even if you're paying $100 for a bag, that's 3 months worth of supplements. It's pretty good. And for what it does, it's probably the number 1 superfood you could probably get in your diet. So I would just say that. All right, guys, I don't want to go any longer. By the way, if you want that weight loss diet template cheat sheet, if you want that, let me know. Reach out to me. Shoot me a message. DM me at Joel Evan Coaching on Instagram, or you can hit me up on Facebook, or simply shoot me an email, info@JoelEvanCoaching, and I will send that to you. No questions asked. I'm not trying to put you in an email funnel or anything like that. I'm just going to send it to you because I really do want to get that in your hands. All right, guys, have an amazing hump day. Let's go. Let's go get the rest of this week. Let's get it.